Welcome to the SKNFLUENCR podcast, a place where we can discuss, along with some very special guests, how beauty and fashion intersect with race, identity, and culture. Happy Black History Month, folks. I hope everyone is enjoying their February so far. SKNFLUENCR is back from our holiday hiatus, and today's very special guest is Nelita Villezon. She's an actress, martial artist extraordinaire, and storyteller. And to be honest, it was kind of difficult to give her those labels because she really can't be contained into a single box, and you'll find out why later. Nelita is Black and Filipino, just like me, but it's her father that's Filipino and her mother that is Black. We had some really interesting conversations in this episode regarding auditioning for Black roles in Hollywood as a lighter-skinned mixed person. We talked about her secret agent grandmother. I'm not joking. You're just going to have to listen to hear more about that. And she talked a little bit about maintaining her femininity as a martial artist. This is the first podcast episode that was filmed in its entirety, so if you prefer to watch this episode, you can check it out at the new SKNFLUENCR YouTube channel at youtube.com/SKNFLUENCR. And if you are already watching this on YouTube, hey, what's up? Now let's get into the episode. So, hello, Miss Nelita. How are you?
I'm amazing. My heart is so full because I feel like it's a long time coming.
I know.
Yes.
I know. We met online, like on Instagram.
Yes.
A pretty long time ago.
Yeah. And even before then, I've seen your account.
Yeah, I've seen yours
for many
too.
years. So just
my dad always sends me your stuff.
Really?
Yeah, because he did martial arts. So he was like, oh, have you seen this? And he did Kali. So he was like always sending me stuff. And I was like, who is this girl?
It was like your long lost sister. That's
right? So if you could introduce yourself, what is your name? What do you do? Where are you from?
All right, let's do it. Hello, world. So my name is Nelita Villezon. I am from Los Angeles, California, and I'm an actress and an advocate for everything that I love.
And what does that entail?
A lot.
Yeah. I was like, well, I guess we'll get into that.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, and I'll make it simple because everyone always asks me what I do, and I usually say that I just share. I share in different mediums. So just like an artist can draw on pencil, oils, paints, whatever, those are different mediums. And for what I do a lot of different mediums, but I just choose to share.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, as a follower of yours, as a longtime follower, I can attest to that.
Thank you.
So you are from Los Angeles.
Yes.
You grew up in Inglewood, right?
I grew up in Inglewood and then over in Baldwin Hills. I don't know if you're familiar with that area. Yeah. Inglewood, Baldwin Hills. And then, if you're in LA, you're just all over the place. So,
yeah.
Yeah. But that's my homegrown little background.
Nice.
Yes.
So you are mixed.
I am.
We're basically the same mix.
Go figure. That's what I'm like, long lost sister. Go figure.
So your dad is Filipino.
Yes.
And is he first generation?
Well, yes.
Yeah, so he was born in the Philippines.
He was born in the Philippines, came over here when he was around 10 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then your mom is Black, she's African American?
Yes.
Okay.
African American from North Carolina.
How did they meet?
So what happened was, so my dad, or my Lola, she came to the U.S. first, and then she brought my dad and his elder sister over, and they started school in North Carolina. And come to find out, my parents didn't even know this. Like, since they were kids, they were in elementary school together. They had no idea.
What?
Yes. And then the funny story, this is where it gets good. So basically, my mother was dating someone, and she was like, oh, one of my sisters doesn't have a boyfriend. We should set her up with someone. So she asked her boyfriend, does he have a friend? And it turned out to be my dad. So then they brought my dad into the mixture, but that didn't work out. They just talked, and it never worked out. And then about, I think, a year or so later, my mom had broken up with her boyfriend, and they reconnected. And they started talking, started dating when they were 17, and they've been together ever since then. It's a cute story.
Oh my God, that is so cute.
I know, it's adorable.
High school sweethearts.
High school sweethearts.
Well, kind of like elementary school sweethearts.
And that's the thing. They're like, well, you went to this elementary school? They had no idea they went to elementary school together.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And this happened in North Carolina.
In North Carolina, yes.
So what made your parents move to California?
They wanted diversity for us.
Okay. Yep.
As you can imagine, them growing up, they were born in 1960 in North Carolina, so it's like very civil rights time,
right.
Very black or white. So let alone my dad comes into town and he's Filipino, and at that time no one knew what Filipino was.
Right.
So it's like they had.
They still don't.
No, exactly. I just got asked the other day, what is a Filipino?
Oh no.
And so they were like the only other Asian family in town, which was a really traditional Japanese family that was there. And so yeah, so that's how he, who's in North Carolina, got married into the family. I forgot the question right now. I drew a blank over it. I was like, wait, let me tell my story. And so yeah, so he was there in North Carolina, and it was just very hard for him because when he first came, they basically was like, oh, you don't learn the same in the Philippines as you do in the U.S. So one, we're going to have to set you back 2 grades, and you don't speak English as your first language, so we're going to have to set you back even further.
Right.
So he had a really hard time because not only was he not allowed to speak his native tongue in school and in public places, unfortunately at the time, because they wanted them to acclimate, his stepdad at the time was like, we'll only speak English at home as well. So yeah, it just took away a lot of the culture and what it was. So that was his experience growing up. And then when him and my mom got together and my sister was first born, they said it was a huge fiasco at the hospital. They were like, everyone wanted to see what a black Chinese baby looked like. Mind you, again, my dad is Filipino.
Not Chinese.
He's Filipino. He's not Chinese. But everyone came around and was like, oh my gosh, we've never seen this mixed baby. We've never seen a black Chinese baby. So let's stay around and watch. And so they were like, we're going to have a hard time with this. So we should probably get them out to somewhere else that maybe is a little bit more diverse, a little bit more open. And my dad, growing up, he always wanted to be an actor. He wanted to be like Bruce Lee and all of this. So he was like, wanted to try his hand at acting, and California was the place to be. And hence why we were here.
Nice.
Yeah.
What a story.
Yeah, I was like, I can get deep. So let me know how much you want me to talk.
Yeah,
you have to stop me.
Please tell me like everything that you need to tell me, because so your dad moved. When did you guys move to California?
Oh, okay. So we moved to California before I was 1 year old. So
Okay.
I'm about to date myself as well. We moved probably like around like 1985 to California. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were here in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a wonderful product of the 80s and 90s plus in California. So
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
How did your dad get into martial arts?
So here's another cool story. Oh, here we go.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Tell us.
So basically, my grandmother, my Lola, who I'm named after, Nelita, she was actually a secret agent in the Philippines. Yes, I know. Crazy.
What?
I know. So my dad grew up, because she was a secret agent working for the government, she would get intel on people, and they had her posing as a news reporter. So we have a press pass and everything. My grandmother was never a news reporter, but we have a press pass where she would go and she would just infiltrate and get this information. And so my dad said growing up, he would watch her in the backyard training and learning hand-to-hand combat in the Philippines. And so that's what first sparked his interest within martial arts. And then growing up, obviously Bruce Lee was a huge thing. So he watched Bruce Lee on TV, and the way he first learned was just through watching. He learned through watching and trying to do the moves. And then when he moved to the U.S. And then found out about Guru Dan Inosanto, once he got older, he started training with him in the 80s. And that's how he got into martial arts. I made it shorter, but that's the cool story.
Okay, the beginning part of the story was already insane.
Right. I know. That's why I say, look, my family's badass.
Yeah.
So I come from a really cool lineage, and it was just really cool to be like, oh, my grandmother was a secret agent? What?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a lot to live up to.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of pride within it. And that's what like makes it so, like, you know, we'll talk about later about sharing in my culture. It's like, my name says it all. This woman, how incredible she was.
Yeah.
You know?
So what made you want to get into martial arts?
I was made to do it. I'm kidding. No, I love it. So my dad is huge within martial arts. He's now physically disabled, but prior to that, you know, like I said, he trained with Guru Dan back in the 80s, and then did a lot of other styles and arts as well. And Guru Dan always said, like, my dad was the closest thing to Bruce Lee that he had ever seen. Like, if people here out in LA, they used to call me Bruce's daughter because they would see my dad, they'd be like, Bruce Lee. And I'm like, he's not Bruce Lee. But they would call me Bruce's daughter because he looked so much like him and could imitate all the moves. And he was really, really good. If you ask his students around town, he kind of sounds like a myth or legend. They'd always be like, oh, Sifu did this and Sifu that. And he could fly up and kick this thing, and he could throw this. He sounds like a myth or legend because of all the things that he could do. So growing up, you know, he never traditionally, everyone thinks of like, oh, your son, you're going to teach your son's martial arts. Well, he never had any boys. It's just my sister and I. But he never steered away from teaching us. So he grew up, before I could walk, I could kick. He would be kicking my legs. But there's like VHS and beta tapes. This is like, again, dating myself.
Beta, I'm dead.
Beta tapes. So didn't you like, it was like something, was it an 8-track or something?
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
saw 8-track for the first time.
Exactly.
At a thrift store.
So beta tapes. I don't know if you know a beta tape. Beta tapes of me like kicking and him holding my legs up and doing this. So that's what my learning of martial arts was. I grew up in my household. It was there 24/7. You know, even as a kid, I just told someone else the other day that my dad, before social media, would be in the backyard with his, video camera, recording himself training and hitting the bag. So I had these videos to look at as I grew up. And so, again, in elementary school, we had our own schools across the U.S. I would train with my dad's school, and he was like, well, I like this art too, so I'm going to put you in this school. And he was like, I like this art, so I'm going to put you in this school. So I literally was like a little monk ninja going from school to school. I was homeschooled as well, so I had a lot of free time.
Oh, yeah.
So I was homeschooled, and he was like, all right, you come train here, and then you're gonna go over there, you're gonna go train, you're gonna go here, and that's how I got into
how many arts, or I don't know what the right term is, like how many disciplines do you know?
Quite a few. So obviously, being Filipina, we do Filipino martial arts, which encompasses 90% of weapons. We also do Filipino boxing and close quarter hand-to-hand combat. And that has a mixture of silat as well, which is also known in Indonesia. That art, I do Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's martial art or style. And then Muay Thai, Taekwondo, Northern Shaolin, Wushu. I do a mixture of styles of grappling. I'm not belted in, but a mixture of styles of grappling. And then I'm a connoisseur of practicing a lot, so I love capoeira. I love a lot of different styles, but that's to name a few that I do.
Oh my God. I'm so jealous.
Aww.
That is so cool.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm really glad I got brought up in it because, like I said, I love that there's I feel like even more so now, a wave of people really getting into martial arts, specifically women into martial arts. But it's just something I've known for a lifetime. It's second nature to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we were talking about this right before the podcast, but she saw a picture of my dad up here on the wall. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see a picture up here. My dad's doing what kind of kick is that called?
A side kick.
A side kick.
It's a really good side kick too. That's why I knew. I was like, where did he train?
Right. And she found out that my dad also trained with Guru Dan. So my dad actually trained with Dan Inosanto and Richard Bustillo when they were in Torrance.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they had I think it was called Filipino Kali Academy. That's what it was called. And they taught Jeet Kune Do, Kali, and Chinese kickboxing over there. God. Yeah, so he trained there. And then I forgot what they're called, but he reached the black belt equivalent in that. And yeah, he did that all throughout his teenage years. And every time he tells me stories about his time doing martial arts, he would use it for street fighting.
I love that.
Because I guess back in the 70s, because he grew up in Carson. So I guess back in the 70s, back in the 70s, there was a lot of gang activity.
Oh yeah. No, it was rampant.
Yeah. So he, his Filipino friends' parents actually encouraged them to go learn how to fight because of that.
You had to back then.
Yeah. So they trained with weapons and learned hand-to-hand combat. And I don't know, it was just really cool. When did your dad train with Dan?
So he started in the 80s, but it was all the way up until he became disabled, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so all the way up until what was it, early 2000s?
Wow, that is so cool. Has he ever done commercials? I feel that's a really good skill to have for commercials and
so
TV,
he like I said, he wanted to be an actor, and so that was his thing. It was he came to California, was I'm going to be a big actor, and wanting to be in the Bruce Lee films and all of that. So he did mainly a lot of stunt work. He did Jet Li's first US film here. He is a lot of the stunts within Ninja Turtles, so people nerd out on that. He does a lot of stunts in Ninja Turtles, even the Shredder. And then also Beetleborgs and Power Rangers. So it was really cool because growing up, when this is the height of everything early, I would be on set watching the Power Rangers be filmed and watching Beetleborgs be filmed. So people were like, what? You got to see that? I get to geek out. It was great. It was
That
great.
is so cool.
Yes.
Why was Filipino martial arts particularly important for you to learn?
Okay, I'm going to take a breath on that. It's, it's interesting. So now when a lot of people see Filipino martial arts online or what I share, they like it because it's very cool. It's very flashy. Oh, you have weapons, tools, whatever it is. But even now, when I'm talking about it, it's so visceral for me because it's our lineage. It's our culture. It's what we use to survive, to defend ourselves, to defend our lands. Not only did I say my grandmother was a secret agent and these are things that she learned, but it's our ancestors before us, this is what we did as our practice to, again, defend the lands that we live on. So for me, it's bigger than it looking cool. This is my ancestors flowing through me. This is the art that we have. When they say martial art, it truly is an art that we learn. So that's why I gravitated when people ask me. I was I'm biased, but yes, I do love Filipino martial arts. So it was that's the reason why, because it is so close to home for me.
Yeah. Have you ever, do you get, what's the word I'm looking for? Do you ever get approached specifically for Filipino Kali for like TV and film or commercials or anything like that?
I do now. So backtrack on the story. Like I had spoken, I lived in Dubai for a number of years, and I unexpectedly came back to the States in 2020. Prior COVID, so I had no idea what COVID was. We didn't know anything was going on, you know. And so I landed because my Lola was passing, and I came to try to see her before she passed. And when I got here, this whole thing called COVID hit, and then all of a sudden we're in this lockdown. And I remember just like, it was kind of like starting over for me because I got stuck here. I got kind of stuck in the States, and I was like, crap, what do I do? I need to start over again. I'm like, I guess I'll share online more and I'll do what I love doing. And so the more that I did that, people online would just start to ask me, they were like, well, why isn't Filipino martial arts in films and television? I'm like, it's everywhere. Like every show, every Marvel film you see, Filipino martial arts is there. They just don't call it Filipino martial arts. Not a lot of times. There's a group now coming up, but a lot of times they're like, yeah, we're doing this. I'm like, that's Filipino martial arts. My boyfriend finds me annoying. I'm like, Filipino martial arts, Filipino martial arts. Okay. But basically, so that happened, and I was like, I really hope that there's a day and time that, I get called for this and talk about manifestation and speaking on it. Like no sooner than I spoke on that. I want to say the very same week I got a call randomly from another one of my dad's colleagues who's also an escrimador, and he hit me up and he was just like, hey, would you happen to be in the States? Oddly enough, I hadn't been in the States in a long time. He's like, would you happen to be in the States because there's a show that's filming and it's based on Filipino martial arts. And I'm like, oh, this is the calling. Like this is going to happen. So I found that as soon as that hit, it was just like everything now and people becoming more aware of it are asking for weapons training, aka also like Filipino martial arts and things. So I do get called quite a bit for it.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much because I think the difference is that, a lot of times people are like, oh, you do stunts. And I'm like, no, I don't do stunts. I was like, I do my own stunts, but I actually don't do it. Credit to the stunt performers.
You're right.
Because I was like, I am not going to taco. I am not going to follow my head or my neck. That is not my thing. I will do it for myself, but there's a limit to it.
Right.
So yeah, I was like, the cool thing about what I do is that I bring the authenticity behind it and really understanding the art, and then can translate that into the stunt form for television and film.
Yeah, I feel like training for the art versus training for TV and film is different. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So again, kudos to all sides of it, because I never want to take credit away from stunt performers because what they do is so amazing and invaluable. You step in places that we don't want to have to go do, but it definitely does bring a different type of look, understanding to it when you actually understand the purpose behind the movement of why you're doing it. So there's one thing to tell someone, okay, strike right here, you're just going to swing right here. But if you don't fully understand why and understand the momentum, the body movement behind it, there's a huge difference in what it looks like. And then again, things can look good online, but when it comes to let's do this and really defend yourself, it's a whole nother story.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say is the hugest differences. And I think it's invaluable for people who are stunt performers to go out and actually learn the actual art and understanding behind that. If you have the time to, definitely go do it.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because what was I watching? I think it was No Time to Die. It was the last Daniel Craig's last James Bond film. And what is her name? The actress who played
Ana
de Armas.
Yes.
You could tell she wasn't a fighter when she was doing those scenes. And I thought that was really interesting that you brought that up because it's one thing to learn the movements for TV and film, but it's another thing entirely to learn what you're doing.
I tell you, I'm probably not the best person to watch action films with. And I think this is for anyone who actually does arts. And again, I give kudos because I know how hard it is. I've trained with actors. I've actually trained actors to be able to perform and things like this. And so I know that you put a lot of effort into what you do, but there is a huge difference. So I sit back and I watch films and I'm kind of cringing a lot of times. I'm like, oh, this isn't correct. Or you can just tell, just I'm clawing at myself. So people are like, let's not watch an action film with Nelita. She's not the one to watch it with. I'm sorry.
How many... So you're an actress as well.
Yes.
Do you want to be an action star?
Yeah. So I'm going to say it and I'm going to claim it because I tell everybody this.
Oh, per.
I am the biggest female action star in the world. Okay. I'm just going to claim that right now.
I claim that for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But you know what the thing is, and I think you can attest to this, I've been in the industry for a long time since I was a kid. And it can beat you up. Yeah. You think fighting is hard. The industry will beat the crap out of you. I think that's a real, even now what you see with the actors from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
you know, and the guy who was in Goonies as a kid, I watched the Goonies when I was a kid, and to see him and hear his story about, hey, like, you know, he wasn't getting book jobs after that, and he almost like gave up hope, like, should I be doing this anymore? And then boom, this happens for him. So with all transparency, I feel like I've been going through that transition. I walked away from the industry back in 2016 when I moved to Dubai, because I was like, I'm done with it. I'm tired of going to castings where they're asking something for so specific that I do, but when I show up, they choose a person who doesn't know anything, or, you know, can't do the, you know, all these sort of things, or like the little nitpicky things. Like, you could be great at what you do, and they're like, I don't like the way your eyebrow leans this way. No, next person. I mean,
Right,
that's the honest truth, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like they tell you, you have to have really thick skin for this industry and resilience. And so when I left, I learned to live, and I learned to really enjoy, and actually grew myself as a person and as a woman. So when I came back and unexpectedly acting fell back into my lap, I wasn't trying to get back into acting. I was like, I'll just share martial arts online. And when I shared that, it was like, hey, we want to see you for this commercial. We want to do this. And I was like, this is cool. And I was like, the only way I'm going to do this is that I could still have joy in what I do. If at any moment I find myself not having joy in going to these castings, filming, whatever, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
As much as I feel like I am, and I know I'm the biggest female action star in the world, if I'm not happy in what I'm doing and completing myself, it doesn't mean anything to me.
I love that, because I'm kind of like finding myself in that place too. I've been doing this since maybe like 2015.
Okay.
So it's been almost like 10 years.
Yes.
And it's funny because at the beginning of my career, I was booking things left and right. And then now I haven't worked in like almost 4 years. Like, it's crazy. I don't think a lot of people realize that even if you go out for something, it doesn't mean that you have this big, huge shot at becoming a star.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people think that just because you audition for something, it's like, oh yeah, you're probably going to get it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
There's so many things out of your control.
This is so true. And I can't say this enough, especially too, like, let's say you are booking, like for me, like I've booked this past year, I booked a lot. And when you book a lot, people are like, oh, that's so cool. Like, you're the next big thing. Marvel, put her in the movie. Like, you just saying Marvel, put her in the movie. That's not going to get me in the movie.
Right.
So, like, thank you. But it's not going to get me in the movie. There's
Yeah.
like, you know, casting that goes along with it. There's a lot of different decisions that go behind the scenes. And then even then I have this kind of pet peeve with it. And kind of like Don Cheadle said, he was like, just because you don't see actors or performers on TV or in film doesn't mean they're not working. You know what I mean? So you got to really keep your mental health in check to be like, you know, when people are asking you, so what are you working on now? And you don't have a thing on TV. It's like, it's not that what do you think I'm doing all day? Like, I'm working every day. I'm doing monologues in my house. I'm doing self-tapes. I'm sitting this. Like, you're literally working every single day. Do you get to see it on TV? Not necessarily all the time, but actors and performers work all the time. So it's really finding that balance within yourself to, okay, be okay. Even me, like, you know, I became really protective of telling people, even when I went for castings and stuff, because I didn't want them to be like, did you hear back? Did you hear back?
Right, yeah.
Did you get it? You know what I mean? I'm like, you just never know with this. So it's just, you know, being able to have a balance for yourself. Like, are you good with yourself? Can you stay joyous and happiness in this? And if you aren't, maybe take a step back for a second.
Yeah.
Recheck in with yourself, or check in with yourself again. And then if you want to go back at it, do it again. So that's kind of where I was at. Like, I want to say end of 2022, I was like, I think I'm done again. I think I don't want to do this anymore. And that's just full transparency. And then I have friends who are like, no, of course not. You can't, you know, I was like, it's like you're chipping away and you're right there at the very, very
Right,
edge, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, what if you just push a little bit more? I'm like, crap, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm open to still, you know, being able to have the opportunity to do so, if it feels right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. All the fellow actors out there, y'all listening, and even people who like aren't actors, if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
I really want you to understand that this shit is hard. Like, it's not easy. You always hear stories of like, oh yeah, this actress didn't do anything before she got this big role. That is like not the norm. That's so like, that doesn't happen to 99% of people who are in this
Absolutely.
industry. It is so difficult to do anything. You can, oh my gosh, you can book a role and for a pilot, for example, and you're so excited. You're like, oh my God, I have my own TV show. I'm the lead. And then the network doesn't pick it up.
Right. Exactly.
You can film a whole pilot episode and they're like, actually, we don't want this to be on TV.
Wasn't there something recently with DC where they filmed Batgirl and they're not releasing it?
Oh my
They're like,
God.
it just didn't work out. We filmed a whole film. Didn't work out.
They filmed the whole thing.
Didn't work out.
And they were
Can you
like,
imagine? That's
I know.
devastating.
I would be so upset if I was that actress.
You know what I mean? And so it's like you said, it's like, again, it's not only for actors. This is anyone, putting themselves out there for whatever career you have. It's just, it's tough. Yeah. And I just try to speak to people. It's like, we always, like nowadays, I think we're more transparent on like the whole thing about being in the limelight, whether it's through, performing, whether it's social media and things like this, just being real with people, like really checking in with yourself. Because I think now more than ever, we need to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure, and we'll probably dive into more, but there's a lot of pressure for a lot of things. Even with me with social media, I was like, I just don't want to do it anymore. I want to be okay.
You're speaking my language right now.
Yeah, I was like, I just don't do this machine. I don't want to be part of this machine anymore.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. Speaking of like entertainment and everything, when you go out for auditions, what race do they send you out for, and what do they allow you to audition for?
I'm like, hi, I'm Nelita, and I'm racially ambiguous.
Yeah.
But also too, they'd be like, no, you're not Asian. Like, you know what I mean? Or like, I'll get there for the audition for black girls, and they're like,
Yeah, I don't think that's right.
But are you really?
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, gosh dang it, can't fit in anywhere.
Right.
So no, I get sent out a lot. I get sent on almost everything except for white.
Yeah, right.
Except for whites. I don't get sent for that. Oddly enough, though, I did have a driver's license once that said I was white. So that's another story. I have a lot of stories. But no, I get sent on everything. So whether it's African American or black, I go by black, Asian. I get even for Indian auditions,
I can see that.
Latin American auditions. So it just really depends on, I think, how my hair is done up, how my makeup is done up, and also do like, if you know mannerisms and how to do it, you can kind of, like you said, be racially ambiguous.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the problems that I have been experiencing is when I go out for like roles that are the characters are black, I don't usually have a problem doing that. But when the parents have already been cast and the parents are both black, I'm like,
and then you look at us and you're like,
yeah, I'm like, I feel like you can find someone else.
Right. Wanting to be fair to other actors as well.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially if like the two parents that they cast are like dark-skinned black people.
Yeah.
And they're like, you want me to audition for this? Like,
Right.
I don't think that's, I don't know.
I know it's a tough one, because I would say it like this, because even in my family, on my black side of the family, because of different roots and stuff like this, we're all different complexions. So we have, being mixed as well, being black, you can come in different complexion. You can have two dark skinned parents and have a lighter child.
True. That's what happened to my aunt. Yeah.
It could happen, but I think for the box that they like to put people in, when people watch TV, they're like, really?
Yeah.
That whole sort of thing. So I get it. I do try to be fair to other actors as well. I remember going out for castings and stuff, and this is back in like the early 2000s or even like late 90s, before things became so woke and people understand like, oh, we gotta cast more. You go to a casting, and this is when I modeled, it'd be 200 girls, 200 girls in the room, and a handful of black girls. It's all white girls and then a handful of black girls, and we will all look at each other and be like, we know it can only be one of us.
Right. Yeah.
You know it can only be one.
Yeah.
And then you'll just feel so horrible too, because it's like, okay, if they're asking for strictly a black girl, then they end up choosing the mixed girl. Then it's like, then which we shouldn't feel inside, because we are black too.
Right.
We'll talk about that. I'm black, I'm Asian, and I'm mixed. I'm all those things.
Right.
But also just wanted to be fair to them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand that, because I feel like it's a interesting conundrum being like a mixed person working in Hollywood, because you do want to embrace who you are. I am black and I am Asian, and I'm both of those at the same time. But also, like, when I audition for a role, like, I would never audition for Black Panther, I don't think. Like, if I auditioned for Shuri, like, I don't think I would feel right doing that. You know what I mean? And it's also interesting because when you think of like biracial representation and interracial relationships in Hollywood, they're almost all like involve a white person.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've auditioned for a character that was written as mixed, and the mix was like black and white.
Oh yeah, it's always
exclusively. I think I've only auditioned for one character that was black and Asian, and that was like 5 years ago.
I don't think I've ever gotten that.
Really? Oh my god.
I don't think I've ever gotten a black and Asian mix. It's always like a black and Latina or a black and white. But going back to what you said too, it's weird because even when Woman King came out, everyone was like, you should have been in Woman King. And I was like, I don't think I would have fit that.
Right.
Thank you.
You would have been perfect though.
Right. I was like, thank you for that. But I would feel wrong being a Woman King. You know, like you said, you would feel wrong for that.
Yeah, I think, it's an interesting place to navigate because you do want to have a career and you do want to work and you do want to do things. But at the same time, like you just... I don't know. You want to be fair.
It's just so hard because it's like at the end of the day, it's kind of like you said, it's like my mom is black.
Right.
Okay. I was like, I don't know how explicit I can get on this podcast.
Oh, go for it.
I'm not going to get that explicit, but I came out of a black vagina.
Right.
So I'm just saying, like, my mom is black, so I shouldn't be afraid of playing roles for black women. But society makes you feel like, hey, but you're not fully black.
Yeah.
So, you know, that sort of thing. And plus, too, I'm a world traveler. I'm like, you go to Africa, people look all different. They look mixed.
Yeah.
In Africa,
Yeah.
different parts of Africa you go to, so you never know. You know how many times I get Eritrean? They're like, "Are you Eritrean? Are you
can see
Habesha?
that.
Are you, you know?"
Yeah, I can see East African for sure.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So, it's hard to navigate. Well, I would say this. No, it's not hard to navigate. I think with growth and maturity, I've gotten to a place of being unapologetic about that.
Yeah.
Not really caring. I think we live in a very sensitive society right now, extremely sensitive. And believe me, I'm all for advocating and for us speaking up for ourselves and what we feel. But I think we've gotten to a place where it's like, you can't say anything or what you feel. But for me, being a grown woman, I'm like, I don't care what you say. I'm black. I'm Asian, but I'm also mixed. That's just what it is. Say what you want.
Yeah. I think when you're younger, you allow yourself to be molded by the people around you and allow yourself to like listen to what people are saying to you. I didn't fully embrace my racial identity until I was like 20.
Me too.
Yeah. It took like a really long time for me to be comfortable with saying, yeah, I'm black and I'm Asian.
Oh yeah.
And even still, even when I talk about it online, that,
You know.
especially when a video goes viral and then, you know,
Yes.
people who aren't following you, don't know your story, they start saying stuff. And I'm like,
Exactly.
what do you mean I'm not black? I am literally black. I'm also Asian.
Right.
When I say that I'm Asian, it doesn't mean that I'm saying I'm not black. And when I say that I'm black, I'm not saying that I'm not Asian.
Girl, you touched on this. It's like you said, it's not taking away from either. Beyonce's mom said this on Beyonce's album. Just saying, you know, it's not being anti-white or anti-whatever it is by being proud of who you are.
Yeah.
So me saying that I'm proud to be Asian, proud to be black, doesn't be like, oh, she only speaks about being Asian or Filipino, so she must not advocate for black people. I'm like, no, that's not the case. It's equally both. So, you know, again, we live in this society where they're just so insensitive, and I just could care less. Like, I do care about people, but I know me. Yeah. I know my story. You know what I mean? I know my roots, and I'm going to speak on my truth, and you can never take that away from me.
Okay. So I actually want to ask you this question because I feel like most black Asians or most black Filipinos, the mom is Filipino and the dad is black.
Everybody's like, "What? Your dad's Filipino?" Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, it's a bit different. And I feel like with my mom in particular, and I can really only speak for myself and people that I know, but usually when the mom is Filipino, you grow up more culturally Filipino because moms are usually the ones that give you culture. Like they're the ones that are raising you because there's an, you know, unequal share of labor in households. So yeah, it's like usually like whoever your mom is, like you get the culture from her. But for you, like how was your household like?
I know. I love that you're asking this. You're asking questions people have never asked. This is really cool. So like you said, it's a very odd thing usually for the dad to be Filipino. And so funny enough, people who know me now, or even like the person that I'm dating, he's just like, you're so Filipino. Like everyone's like, you're so Filipino. You're so, I'm like, I'm black too. Like, don't forget I'm black too. But for me, it was kind of equally both. My mom, when I was a kid, she always told me, she's like, she prepared me for this world. And I think most black people can attest to this, black Americans. She was like, the world is going to see you as black. No matter what, no matter where your dad is from, what you look like, your hair, anything, they're going to see you as black. So you need to prepare for this. She prepared me for knowing that and understanding that. And then she also made sure that I understood my culture and my dad. So my mom, like, I think with Filipinos, we always say food. It comes down to food. My mom cooks Filipino food. They actually lived in the Philippines. So my mom has a Filipino driver's license, speaks part of the language. So it's just like she made sure I was rooted in that. My dad as well, even like through learning the arts, that's part of who I am, my identity. So that was a huge part. And again, being named after my Lola and her being around so much, my Lola made sure she was on it. You know what I mean? So I honestly would say I know that I'm equally both, but for me personally, I really did seek to understand my Filipino culture growing up. I was that nerdy kid who like read all the history on the Philippines. I taught myself Tagalog. Like it wasn't taught to me growing up. So I remember like growing up and I was like, oh, I want to know our language. So I started reading books and learning Tagalog. This is before Rosetta Stones. And I just knew from a young age that that's something I really connected to. And I'll speak on this too. I think knowing your history makes a bigger connection for you. So it's not just the fact of doing these practices and culture that we know. Because I understood where we came from, because I knew our family name, my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, the islands that they came from, it gave me a deeper sense of rooting within the Philippines and within the Filipino culture. So for me, I was like heavily Filipino in my household. I understood that completely. And so this is even now why I still gravitate to that and also advocate for it. As far as the Black side of my family, I'm very close to them. But I think, again, a lot of Black Americans, we don't actually know where we come from.
Right, yeah.
Like, I knew my family was from North Carolina, but beyond that, that's it. I had one great-great-grandmother who lived to 102. But before that, I was like, I don't know where she came from before this. Even my great-grandfather, we knew that he was part white. He was mixed, but it was like we didn't know where his dad was from. So there was a lot of missing history. It wasn't until, like you said, until my 20s. So I grew up with this whole, we'll dive more into that identity thing of like, what are you? Who are you?
Yeah.
When I was in elementary school here in LA, I remember this is a time we had to, I don't even know why they had kids filling it out, but it was a card. And on there you had to choose your race. And there was no other to choose. It was just Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. And the teachers who were there said, you can only choose one. And I was like, but I can't choose one. They're like, well, which one do you feel more like?
Oh,
I was like,
hate that.
Both. I feel like both. I would have been denying one of my parents for that. So it's this huge thing growing up. And it wasn't until my 20s where I actually learned to be like, I understand who I am. And I don't need anybody else to understand that. And I love who I am. And having that identity. And then fast forward, it wasn't until my 30s that I actually learned the history of where my Black side of the family came from and actually being on the plantation that they were brought to. Like, and that I would even say more so enrooted me in like my Black culture, be like, oh, I finally have a piece that I understand now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I kind of can understand that because like you said, you know, your mom used to live in the Philippines and like she speaks some of the language. My dad also used to live in the Philippines. Yeah. He also speaks some Tagalog. He grew up with Filipinos in Carson. So all of his friends when he was a teenager were Black and Filipino.
Yes.
So by the time he went to the Philippines and met my mom, he like already understood the culture and like, you know.
He was like, I'm practically Filipino.
Yeah, I was like, I'm more Filipino than you. But then also like when I hang out with my Black family, I have a lot of historians in my family, so they're actually, I know a lot about like where my Black family came from. I have a great grandfather who was a survivor of like a massacre.
Oh wow!
Yeah, in Louisiana, and like just learning that story was so crazy to me, and it made me feel even more proud of being Black because like if he died in that massacre, I wouldn't be alive right now.
You are speaking volumes to me because that's what I learned when I came back to 2020. I went to the plantation. We randomly stumbled upon this plantation, found out that my family lived there and that there was a massacre there. And I literally said the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, if my family only knew that we literally like worked and bled on this land that we don't even own. Like, and we're here. What do I have to complain about? What am I really doing with my life? Yeah. You know what I mean? So it really enriched even more. So like, I like a lot of, you know, Black Americans, we got to learn where we come from because I think that, not to say that other people aren't making strides in what they do, but we would have a different sense of who we are.
I totally agree with that. I've always had this saying. I like how you said, I feel like when you know your history, you know yourself better. And I've always said this, like, when you know your history, you know yourself. But if you have no history, there's no self. You know what I'm saying?
I was like, okay, okay, speak it up. I like it.
Yeah, but I really, really advocate and like encourage everyone to like really learn where you came from. I know so many Black people who have like no idea where their family is from, you know.
I was one of them.
Yeah. And like you're in California, obviously, like we weren't really brought here from Africa. We came from the South and then migrated to other parts of the country. So I think just like learning about where your family came from could do a lot for your self-esteem even.
Oh my gosh.
Like learning about yourself and I don't know.
I'm going to take it a step further. Yeah. The first time I ever went to Africa, oh my gosh. Man, I tell every Black American, you must go to Africa. You must go to Africa. And I know I've heard other bigger people say like, oh, we're Americans. We're not African Americans. We don't know anything about Africa, but you should find out. Because when I went to Africa, I understood, one, why they call it Mama Africa. And then two, I was like, I understand why they call us kings and queens. my goodness. And it was like, I would meet Africans and same thing. It would feel so horrible when they came up. They're like, sister, where's your family from? And I'm like, I don't know. We're from North Carolina. They're like, no, where's your family from? And I was like, I don't know. They don't teach us this in schools in the States. They're like, you need to find out. They would look at me. They're like, you're West African. And I was like, are you sure? They're like, sister, trust us. You're West African. And then sure enough, I did my DNA test, say what you want about it. But I did my DNA test and they're like, West African, sure enough. And then to North Carolina. But once I had that, I was like, oh man, now I can finally say, like, I know where my roots come from. And now I can read the history and understand this. And it's like, the same way I'm so proud of Filipino martial arts and us fighting for our land for it. And now I can understand that from the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So yes, knowing your history helps to complete you a little bit more. And definitely go to Africa.
I need to go ASAP. I also did a DNA test.
Yes.
And it's also West African.
Okay. I was like, now we're like really sisters.
You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yes.
So most of it is Nigeria, and there's also some Ghanaian in there. My brother's sisters, so my aunts, both married Igbo Nigerians.
Oh wow.
So I love hanging out with them because they bring that culture, and I'm trying new foods. Like they had me try fufu, which is an interesting texture. It's a totally different flavor and texture profile, so I'm still getting used to it, but it's still really, really good. And I just love hanging out with them because I just learn so much every time I go hang out with them. So would highly recommend all the Black Americans watching this, if you can, obviously traveling is so hard to do, but if you can go to Africa, ask your parents, ask your grandparents about any stories that they may have, because I find a lot of parents or a lot of older Black people don't like talking about their past because I think it could be a little traumatic sometimes, but I don't think they're going to tell you unless you ask.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
There's a couple points you said on this. It's a couple of things. One, when it comes to traveling, I know a lot of people, like you said, will look at this well, that sounds nice. So you guys are able to travel. No, look, when I was broke, even there's times it was the tickets are pretty high right now.
Yeah.
But I've traveled to about 50 countries.
Oh, wow.
And blessings for a lot of the opportunities that came to me on it. But I would tell people this: if you're going to spend your money on anything, obviously save, invest, whatever, spend it on traveling. It's the best teacher in the world. I cannot tell you how much I learned about myself, the other people in this world, how to navigate everything through traveling. So, if it starts with you going out of your city, get out of your city. It doesn't have to be out of the country right now. Go out of your city. You know what I mean? And then from there, out of your state, and just keep going on up, because again, it's just a teacher for so many things, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your country, your city that you go to. And then touching back on what you said about the traumas for people, I learned that too, because even with my Lola, asking her about questions and stuff, there were times where she didn't divulge all the information. I didn't learn till later. Because it was so hurtful to her. A lot of the older generation just kind of taught we don't talk about it, we suppress it down.
Right.
It's I'm here now sort of thing. When I asked her about the war and things like this, there was a lot that she didn't necessarily say. But even then, I went to my Lolo's sister, my tita, and I asked her questions one day. I remember just asking her all the family history, whose name is this? Whose parent is this? Who's that? And she's like, you really want to know this? She was so excited. She was like, you really want to know? I'm like, yeah. She was like, my own grandkids don't ask me. I was like, well, I want to know. So tell me, because I want the family history. And it was so pleasing to her. So you'll find somebody, but it's so enriching to get that, and can be healing for them if they're willing to open up about it. Yeah.
I have my mom has told me so many stories about her childhood, and I could tell it was really healing for her. She felt she didn't have really anyone to talk to about this, because she's also a middle child. So, there's no one she could talk to about it. She didn't want to go to therapy, even though I think she should. Mom, if you're listening, please go to therapy. But yeah, I consider myself a really good listener. So when she was just telling me all these stories, I was like, oh, wow, I understand you way better than before you told me all of this. And you have empathy for your parents, but until they start telling you their deepest, darkest secrets, you just see them in a totally different light. God. And I did a lot of on the spot forgiving. Oh yeah, when she was telling me all this.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of people, a lot of my friends, and people were younger, and I say this, there was a point in time, because I remember growing up, I had this image in my head of what my parents looked like, all these sort of things, and that image was when they were in their 30s, and I'm like, God forbid they're only in their 30s. That was the picture I had. And when I left, every time I came back, I could see them physically age. It's different when you're not around people. So when you're gone for a long period of time, you come to people, you actually see physical age and change happen. And what I've learned just in my growth of life is that they are our parents, but we have to understand at the end of the day, they're just a human being who is trying to navigate just like we are trying to navigate right now. You know what I mean? So it's like whatever things that happened when you were growing up, like when I think of my parents had me at 25, they were 25 years old when they had me. Like, what were they doing raising a kid, let alone 2 kids, and trying to figure it out and trying to pay for this and have a job and like, well, I'm losing it and I don't have any kids right now. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do with my life? Let alone if I had a kid. So, you know, I just think about them like they were a human being. And even now, them being in their 60s, I'm like, they're still human beings at the end of the day making human decisions. So, you know, they're making human adult decisions that I don't necessarily have say on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All you could do is, like you said, try to like work out understanding towards that and kind of see it from their point of view of what they went through.
Yeah. My mom had her first child, my brother, at 26, I think. And I was like, I cannot imagine, like I'm 28 right now and I have no children. I can't imagine having a 2-year-old right now.
That's what I'm saying. Can you imagine this little guy running around here, the decision you have to make quickly?
Yeah, I can't imagine. And even when I was like, when I got my first apartment when I was like 22 or however old I was like furnishing my apartment.
Yes.
And furniture was so expensive. And I was like, how did our parents afford furniture?
Look,
with kids.
When I think about it now, like I'm checking my expenses, like what are you spending your money on, Nelita? But like I remember it was one day I was driving and my parents used to take me to a conservatory of fine arts growing up. And I'm driving one day and I happen to pass this place. I'm like, this place is so far out. And I could literally call my parents. I was like, thank you so much, because I never realized how far you were driving me every weekend to go take these classes that I'm not even doing these things anymore, but you drove me every weekend adamantly. You know what I mean? So there's so many sacrifices they made. So give them grace, because one day I hope my kid will give me grace is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. I've been wanting to ask you this question for a really long time, like ever since I first saw you and ever since like I started following you.
I'm nervous now.
How has like martial arts affected your sense of femininity?
Oh, I love it. Thank you for this question. Again, you're asking so many questions no one's ever asked me.
That's what we do here.
It's interesting. I think there's an evolution to it. So being younger, there were not a lot of female martial artists at the time when I was in it. I think the only person I really looked up to was Cynthia Rothrock, who was a famous female action star actually. But also at the same time, she didn't look like me. So I didn't have a lot of people to pull upon for that. And so being in the gym growing up, it was kind of seen as like, oh, you're the teacher's daughter. You're so rough. You're doing all this and that. So I was like, oh, I loved it. Never wanted to stop martial arts. However, it was a sense of like, it's a boys thing. Boys do that. Like, why are you such a tomboy? Why are you doing this sort of thing? And now as I've gotten older, finding the strength behind it. Oh, there's so much strength within femininity. And martial arts just brings that out, you know, like again, like I told you, the arts, because I think we're so used to being like, oh, rough, we're beating each other, we have to do this. No, like with what I do, there's a flow to it and there's strength within my femininity, and my femininity comes through my martial arts as well. I bring something different to it. So it has affected me in a beautiful, wonderful way. And it's just something to be able to walk around and honestly like know within yourself, can I curse on this?
Yeah, go for it.
Don't fuck with me. I'm not the one, but I am the one. So yeah, it's like, you know, I'm still who I am. I'm still a feminine. I can still be nice, but I walk around with a sense of confidence that a lot of other women don't have. I remember traveling with my friends. We're in Thailand and we're walking one day and they're like, it's sunny outside. What are you doing with that umbrella? I'm like, I'm not trying to block the sun. I was like, I'm actually holding it just in case we have to protect ourselves. They're like, what? I never thought about that. I'm like, there's a guy who's been following us for like 2 blocks now. They're like, what? They're like, how do you know these things? I'm like, this is what the sense of awareness that has brought me, the confidence that has brought me. When I go somewhere, like I can tell you right away, I've been places and I've had a dude walk up to me and he was like, I really was going to come say hi to you, but you're looking around way too confident. And I was like, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but thank you.
Right.
I like it. Yeah. I walk in a certain way. So I love martial. I'm sorry. It's a long answer, but
yeah,
martial arts has just brought me the sense of even more confidence that I already had, self-assuredness, knowing that I could take care of myself if need be. And yeah, the fire of like this goddess warrior behind it.
Yeah. It's so funny that you brought that up because my next question is kind of related to that. So like, I think, like you said, there's a lot of like power that can be had when you know how to fight.
Yes.
When you know that you can protect yourself.
Yes.
Particularly as a woman. So do you think that your knowledge of and skill in martial arts like allows you to feel safer walking alone at night? Like, do you walk alone at night and you're like,
you ever
come and try it?
I think we've all seen that guy who's like, fuck around and find out.
Right, yeah.
Fuck around enough, you're going to find out. No, so it definitely does. I would say this because obviously I never want to put a false message out there to be like, once you learn martial arts, you'll be so confident you can walk around at night. Nothing will ever happen to you.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Do not be stupid. Like, be self-aware. Obviously, be self-aware. Hear as much training as I know, and I like to tell people this is true. I'm like a human weapon. Like, I'm really nice, and I like my nails done, and I like to look cute. I will fuck some shit up if need be. So
I believe it.
Yeah, I'm like I'm the safest person to be with, but I'm also the most dangerous person to be with if you want to be on that side. But as much as I know, I don't want to have to fight.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to defend myself if I don't have to. So I'm going to avoid that situation as much as possible. I'm the diffuse person. If things are getting rowdy, just calm down. Let's just walk away. It's not, I don't want this problem. They don't want it, but I don't want this problem. I don't want to do that. So always being aware of that and not putting yourself in situations. But if I ever am in that situation, if I've ever had to walk to my car alone, absolutely, I feel so much better. Like and also too, I'm just that aware person. When I walk out my apartment to my enclosed garage that I know is safe and enclosed, we have security guards, I'm on it every single time. I'm looking at my peripherals here. Get into my car. No, I'm going to lock the door right away. Put my seatbelt on. Like, I have a whole protocol what I do. I carry weapons on me. I don't want to say weapons, but I carry knives on me and different protection tools for me to have. So yes.
Yeah, side note, when she walked into my apartment before she sat down, she's like, "Oh, let me take my knife out real quick."
Right. I don't think I need this for this podcast.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, all right."
Yeah, don't mind me. Sorry if I scared you. But no, yeah, it's definitely a different sense of and I think this for male or female, but especially for women nowadays. I feel very confident in what I do because there's a difference. Like, I would say add this on. Doing martial arts doesn't make you just badass, and you better know how to do martial arts very well. You better know how to defend yourself very well, because you can be practicing and not practicing properly, as we talked about earlier, and then you think what you did on that back, hi-ya, it's gonna stop that person, and it's not. You know what I mean? So knowing how to swiftly get to the point and get away. My point is to do what I gotta do, get away, call for help. Anyway,
yeah,
that's it. I divulge. I digress.
Do you think that every woman should take some sort of self-defense or martial art class or something?
Yes and yes. Absolutely. I think you need to know, there's so many arts out there, so you need to learn what speaks to you. I definitely think learning defense from weapons is definitely something to do. I would take a step further. There's another group that I work with as well, Training to Forever and Martial Blade Concepts, where they talk about the legalities of things. Because a lot of times, and I'll speak on this, with my social media, people see knives, sticks, and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'll just go out with the knife." I can't tell you how many people's like, "Yeah, I have a knife, so if something happens, I'm just gonna stab the person." I'm like, "You're gonna go to jail." Yeah. You're gonna go to jail if you stab someone. So learning the legalities of this and properly training your mindset for it, because martial arts is not just a physical portion of it. Because 90, I would say like 60, I wouldn't say 60% of the time. I've talked to and worked with somebody from the FBI, and he was saying that when he used to train guys, as much as they knew, when you put them out into the field, they freeze. Most people freeze and they don't know what to do. This is why you also see a lot of within officers and things happening, because they're frozen and all of a sudden something just takes over them. So you have to be able to train your mindset that, like, once you're in that position, what do I need to do and what are the places I need to hit to get away and go, but also just not recklessly kill someone.
Right. Yeah.
If I don't need to recklessly kill someone, that guy could have been asking for directions. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? So understanding those sort of things. So yes, every woman definitely needs to take some sort of defense. I would say weapons defense, learn how to strike, and then jiu-jitsu, ground fighting. You know, we don't need to state the obvious. You need to learn how to defend yourself when you're laying down. Just saying.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I've always wanted to take jiu-jitsu, but I feel like, I don't know. How do you find a class?
Oh, here's the thing. There's a lot of places around, and I think this is with every industry. You just need to find quality, and that's going to be hard for someone who doesn't know anything about martial arts.
Right.
You know what I mean? So asking people that you know are reputable, who you know are in it, have done it for a long time, if they recommend someone, because you can go. I've seen people like, yeah, I started taking this class, and I'd be like, ooh, yeah, you should maybe go somewhere else. Not to say anything, you know. I was just like, you may want to learn something a little bit different. You know what I mean? So I definitely say asking around to people who you know are within that industry and have done it for a long time about that, because again, like they say, practice doesn't make perfect. it doesn't make perfect. So you could be doing something all day long. If you're not perfectly practicing or as close to perfectly practicing as you can, it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah. Do you do private training? Like, can you like teach someone how to do stuff?
This is a question that has plagued me for a very long time. And I'm going to say this publicly. This is interesting. So I grew up training and teaching. I loved teaching people and doing that. I did it for a very long time. I retired from that. I retired from coaching, and I get asked all the time, and it kind of sucks because it's like I want to be able to share. So I did create an app. I have an app that people can learn on, but I still within myself feel this need to be able to do maybe seminars. So do I do one-on-one trainings where I'm a PT and I teach martial arts? I don't do that necessarily anymore, but to be able to hold special events and seminars, yes, I am definitely open to that. I was like, why are you inquiring?
Why did you make that decision?
Oh, I see. I made that decision because I felt like I should be retired. Like, I mean,
period.
No, here's the thing. It's like, you have to understand, I grew up in a martial arts school. So by the time I was a kid, I was already assisting. I was in classes, helping my dad teach the other kids and do this. So imagine teaching literally your entire life. When I was, again, I'm going to say this, child labor laws, don't get my parents, but I was homeschooled. So what did I do? I worked for my parents. When I didn't have studies and stuff like this, I was in the back of the office working. Then I had to go out and I would teach the kids class or assist as I was a teenager. So I've taught my entire life and I loved it. But I feel like I just wanted a break to be able to do something else. Cause as we say before, it's like martial arts is me. It's my ancestors, all these things, but I'm also so much more than that. There's so many other things that I love doing. I taught dance I don't know if people know, I taught dance for a really long time. I taught yoga for a really long time. I'm an artist, actually draw and paint. I do a lot of different stuff. I work in healing ceremonies with people. So the latest thing that I've been doing is working on psychedelic therapy with people and things there's a lot. So people always want to keep you in the box. I'm like, oh, Marshall, you only can do martial arts. And I'm like, I want to be able to do other things that I love as well. Martial arts is forever my life and I'm never going to take that away, but I still want to be able to share other mediums. As I said earlier, back to the beginning, other mediums of what I do.
Yeah. Do you have a plan for what you would want to do with your social media? I know I want to talk about what you said at the beginning when you were like, I share.
Yes.
I love sharing.
Yes.
What does that entail? What does that mean?
Yeah, it's been kind of, like they say, organic in what I do. Because when I first started social media, it wasn't for the purpose, because when I started IG, this is before it was the IG of what it is today.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Or YouTube of today. It was just this platform where you share pictures. So I literally was just sharing what I love doing and working out and training. And, the following started to come, but it was never a thing. It was yeah, let me build this big following. So I have this plan of what I want to do.
Yeah.
It never was that. It just organically happened. Moving forward, I still want to share. And when I say share, it's deeper than just martial arts. It's sharing all the experiences of life and the things that I've learned along the way with people. Because I think at the root, no matter whether it's work, relationships, hobbies, whatever it is, if you don't take care of yourself mentally and these things that you've learned in growth, it feeds into all those sort of things. So that's what I mean share. I'm still right now cultivating the exact logistics, of okay, is this a program? Is this, is it this, and this? But that's what I mean by sharing. It's just I'm just myself. If you notice, I don't know if people have noticed lately, I haven't really been posting like that. And I've been very transparent about it because I was look, I just want to do what makes me feel happy, and not because I have to do it because you guys want to see me kick something in a video. That's cool and all, and I want to be able to provide you some cool content to look at, but I don't want my everyday to wake up and be I gotta go kick in this video to go do this. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some days I just want to get on there and be it's a crappy day, but I'm gonna get through this, and I hope you get through it too. You know what I mean? So just being transparent in those ways and teaching people to really find your joy. Live in your joy no matter what that is. So if that means me not being on social media, if that means me not kicking in a video and y'all not liking that I don't post kicking videos anymore or weapons, I'm happy. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that with being a content creator on social media, it's kind of like Hollywood. They want to put you in a box. What's your niche?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You should only make these types of videos.
Yeah.
That's how you'll grow.
Yeah.
But it's okay, yeah, I'm growing, but am I happy?
At what extent? And this is why you see, we can dive deep into stuff.
Yeah.
This is why you see a lot of successful people killing themselves because they're unhappy. they're literally unhappy with, there's other things in life that may be causing that unhappiness, but that's definitely a part of it. And I can attest to that because I've been through that. I know that even there was like end of last year, I was in a dark place. I was in a really dark place. And I'm very open and transparent and talking about depression and things like this. I grew up in a household that didn't necessarily believe in depression. They didn't believe in therapy. They didn't know these things. And again, that's because they didn't know this. You know what I mean? But I didn't realize I was depressed until I was in my 20s and I wanted to drive my car off of a bridge. That's when I was like, what is this? This is a really odd feeling. And why do I want to kill myself?
Yeah.
This may be what depression is. And so I had to learn to navigate that. So now as I've gotten older, when I find myself, I always preach to people like, be as positive as you can. People know me. I'm so joyous. I am so like, I love life. I love being alive. I don't have any other vice but being alive. I love being alive. But when I find that starting to be taken away, that's when I have to kind of check in with myself and be like, oh no, this is not okay. So when it came to social media and stuff like this, it's like, this is the reason people are unhappy, because we find this need right now. I personally feel like it has become a machine and you got to feed the beast. You got to keep feeding the beast to stay on top, because as soon as you don't, because I'll test that. Like right now, I haven't been posting. Everybody been like, bye, deuces, no longer following you because I don't see this martial arts video anymore. And I had to be like, okay, that's okay. That's okay, because I'm so happy in here. You don't want to support this positive cause that I have right here? That's okay. But if I'm in a sports bra spinning a stick around, you love it. You know what I mean?
That's not what we followed you for.
Right. I was like, I didn't follow you for that. Go back and spin that stick around in your nunchucks in your sportswear that's not martial arts gear. It's that, and, call me older and prude now, but it's just like, I feel like everything has to be sexualized in order to do it. And I was like, that's just not who I am. I don't want to have to overly sexualize myself in order to be successful. That's not what I'm here for. This is not the sharing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That I wanted.
Yeah.
Cool. Nothing against other people, but that's not the sharing that I wanted for myself. So, yeah.
Yeah. You recently did a campaign for Savage X Fenty.
I know. Speaking of, I was like, I was half naked. I was like, as we go back, I was half naked in that.
No, but I think there's like some power when it's like for yourself. I think it's different when you're.
Honey, let me tell you. Yes.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it. So, yeah, I'm a Savage Fenty girl. Just saying, loved it. It was cool for me because, again, I grew up doing martial arts. It's been my love. And I felt like I fought so hard within this industry. Like we go back to, being in the industry and stuff, of trying to make a name for myself, trying to put my art out there, trying to do something for my family and do this thing with martial arts. And it felt like it's always been a struggle, even though I've booked a really great like I have a commercial now that just keeps getting played and played. And I'm like, even though it's there's been a lot of no's. There's been a lot of like, why aren't you in a Marvel movie? There's been a lot of those sort of things. So for me, it was so cool to one day, like I got called for the casting for Savage Fenty, and I was like, I'm gonna book this job. That's what I was like, I'm gonna book this. Nobody else gonna do it. If you know what I had to go through to get this Savage Fenty campaign, I destroyed my apartment, basically. I'll tell the backstory. I can tell it now. Basically, they were like, okay, we need a girl who can do nunchucks, and we need you. They're like, can you do the candle trick? And I was like, what candle trick? They were like, where you put out a bunch of candles with nunchucks. And I was like, yeah, for sure I can do that. I was like, I had never done it before. I was like, yeah, for sure I can do that. Of course I can. Told my management, let them know. So he was like, cool. So he let them know. They're like, cool, great. Send a video now. And I was like, okay, I could do that. Mind you, it's nighttime is coming down. I have no candles at home, no those tall candles. So I was like, okay, I have some tea light candles. Cool. So I put the tea light candles up, and I don't know about anybody else, but if you know about nunchucks, I make my own weapons. So I have my own, like, they're metal nunchucks. They are metal. They're not like light. They're like legit. And so I'm going at it, and I'm like, I cannot hit this candle. And I also can't break my glass table. It's a lot. So I'm going take after take. I'm like, what are these people? I was like, this has to be a illusion of how these people are doing it. And it was like, it's because they have this and this and this. And it got down to like one of the last takes. The light is going down. I'm sweating profusely. And I was like, this is it. I have to do it. It's like a movie. I was like, yes. So then I check, and mind you, like 2 takes before that, I take this back. 2 takes before that, I hit a candle. The problem was the wax was black. So the next thing I know, I hit this candle, and it's like black wax all over my apartment, like just everywhere on my apartment. I'm like, crap, I better get this job because I got to paint my entire apartment now. I got to get it out my sofa. I got to get it out of here. I put black wax everywhere in my apartment. Oh my gosh. And on the last take, the candles went out, and I was like, I'm gonna book this job, Savage Fenty. And then what do you know, I got the job, and it was amazing.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that after going through all that, you finally booked
No, it was so good because, the other thing too, I was like, it meant a lot to me. And I share this story a lot. When I was a little kid, and this is like the million time people are going to hear it. My dad, when he like taught me martial arts and stuff, he said, Nelita, he said, I'm teaching you martial arts not only so you know how to defend yourself. He said, but if ever you need a job or you don't have money, he was like, you can always teach. You can always do martial arts and use martial arts as a way to make money. And it makes me so emotional every time I get to do something for a job or a commercial or a show. Then I'm like, it rang no truer. I was like, not only do I get to, pay my bills and survive in life, I get to do cool things and thrive in life off of martial arts that my dad gave me. So to be booked for Bad Girl Riri's line, Savage Fenty, and they're like, oh yeah, we want to do martial arts. What? This is like a dream. As a little kid, to be like, whoever would have thought that you'd be on this national campaign doing this? So when that moment came, I remember because we shot it in New York, and I got to New York, and first of all, I was like, they were like, okay, this is what you're going to wear. And I'm like, I'm grown. I've worked on my body. Yes, of course I'm going to wear this. I was like, give me that thong bodysuit. Yes. And so I got there, and I remember just having this moment. Every time before I perform, I just take a moment to myself, and I think about my Lola. I think about my dad. I think about answers, and I was like, I got this. I had no worries in the world. I was like, I'm going to nail this. Everything I'm going to do. And they loved it. And it was amazing. Aww. So, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's on her Instagram if you guys want to.
It's pinned on the first one.
Yeah.
You can see my beautiful glistened up booty.
Yeah, I was like, okay, girl, work. You looked so good.
Thank you. That's the thing. Because, too, it's like, I'm 36. I'm very transparent. I'm about to be 37. Hey. But I've worked hard on taking care of myself. A lot of times people are like, oh, it must come natural to you. I'm like, do you know how much I have to work in this gym and like work off what I eat? Because I like to eat. I don't really diet like that. I like to eat.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I worked really hard, and it's like, if ever I said I want to have this one thing, so when I'm older and I have my grandkids, I'm like, that's your grandma. Your grandma was cool. That was me. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, show them the campaign for Bad Gal Riri. This was your grandma.
Exactly. It was like, that was me, okay? Not only was I looking cute, but I had weapons and I was badass. It was great.
Did they ever explain like why they wanted to get a girl that knew how to use nunchucks?
They did not, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, my thing is what we do is an art, but it's also a lot of athleticism and a sport to it. Mm-hmm. And so when they came out with the sport line, I love that they were so inclusive of different things. Like they had a roller skater who was there. They had a ballerina who was there. They had myself, and they got in like weightlifters and stuff. And it's like a lot of times when we think of fitness and health, they're like, oh, running and track and field, weightlifting, basketball, this and that, but they never think about these other things. I'm like, I get to represent martial arts for something so huge like this, like cute sportswear / like lingerie type of line. Whoever would have thought, like if you had told me a year or two ago, like, yeah, you're gonna be doing a lingerie sports ad doing martial arts, I would have like, they're never gonna do that. They're never gonna pep nunchucks. What does that have to do with it?
Especially like for a woman.
Yeah, for a woman to do so. And I'm like, it was such an honor for me to be there to do that, to also show up and represent, Filipina and Black girls. And then there was like another girl on set who was Filipina. One of the stylists, he was Filipino as well. So we had our own little, we're like, oh, look at us here, up in here representing. Who would have thought?
I love that.
This is great. I want to give you kudos.
Thank you.
First of all, I don't even know how many years I've been following you, but I remember looking at you and I was like, oh, she could be like my little sister. She's so cute. And I just love that you're so authentic to yourself, that you're real, even through the navigation of growth of what you've had, but also advocating and sharing and being unapologetic about that, being brave and being courageous. Because doing this, even now, us talking right now, is such a courageous thing because, as we said, the world will come for you. Yeah. The world is going to come for us.
Oh, I'm sure. Because we were talking about some real shit in this podcast. I'm sure someone's going to listen, and I'm sure they're going to tell us what they think about it.
Right. Is that, but then there's also so many people that we're speaking to who needed to hear this and wanted to hear this. So I always like to say that everything that I do is surrounded by joy and love. So I rarely get people saying crazy stuff. Every now and then there's somebody who says some off the wall stuff, but they're just trying to get attention.
Yeah, okay. Right. Don't give it to them.
I don't give you attention.
So let's talk about like your beauty routines and stuff like that.
Ooh, yes.
So one of the downsides for me of working out, even though I love working out, it like feeling strong, like it's just given me so much confidence that I've never had before. I love like weightlifting, but one of the downsides is that I have to wash my hair more often than if I wasn't working out. So like, I wanted to ask you, what is your hair routine? Like how do you keep it looking fresh throughout the week? How do you make it look good? when you're working out?
Girl, I'm gonna be honest with you on this. So like even right now, this is not gonna last. This is not gonna last. When I work out, it is slicked back in a ponytail instead of bun. I make sure, for me, hydration, because I have really dry hair, fine thin hair, and I'm working on regrowing it after some bad decisions years ago. But yeah, just making sure that I either like, you know, keep it moisturized with oils, even like conditioners, because I usually do steam room or sauna afterwards, and I love putting a mask or a conditioner. Ooh. Yeah, so when I go work out, I will wet my hair, I will put like conditioner things as I'm working out, then I'll go into the steam room and let that sit in there and marinate, get juicy, and then come out and do my regular hair routine. So I'm just, with my body in general, I don't use much on myself. I find the less I use, the better.
Yeah.
And then I try to be as natural as possible. So like I use like a flaxseed type of gel. I forgot the name of the company. I need to find this. Aloe vera on my hair. Now I'm doing a mixture of like rosemary infused waters and things like this that I spray on my hair. But it's pretty simple. Right now I'm trying not to touch my hair. Yeah. Like I had to blow dry it and straighten it, and I did not like that I had to do it. But yeah, I try not to do anything to my hair right now.
Yeah. What's your like natural hair texture?
I have wavy hair.
Okay.
I have wavy hair, so it's not too far off. If anything, it's like big loopy curls.
Okay.
I wouldn't even say curl. Yeah, it like doesn't coil.
Okay, yeah.
Like I've really tried. I always wanted to have curly hair, oddly enough, and it doesn't work. My sister has extremely curly hair, and it's so beautiful, and it's thick and gorgeous in the mane, and I have kind of like black, kind of wavy hair. But I'm not mad because my Lola had the same hair, so I love it. But yeah, it's just loose waves, so I like wearing it naturally like that as well. If anything, right now, it's just trying to regrow it because I have a lot of breakage.
Gotcha.
I had a bad dye job years ago. I tried to go brown, and this girl bleached my hair. She put bleach in it, and my hair started falling out in clumps. Yes, clumps. So then I tried to rehab from that. I went to Dubai, and out there, because of the weather and the water, my hair started falling out again there. So it was falling out. And then I got a keratin treatment, keratin straightening. So that was great because I loved it. It was like never had to really straighten your hair, but it did do a lot of damage.
Oh, really?
I have thin hair. I would say this. Once my hair gets back healthy, I wouldn't be opposed to doing a keratin treatment again, but I would make sure that I'm not straightening it in between.
Gotcha.
Because that was my problem. So I'm not going to blame it completely on keratin. I got a keratin treatment, straightened my hair. I loved it. But because I was working out so much to keep it straight, I was straightening it in between. And that was the mistake that I think I made. So when I work out now, it's going to be wavy for the weeks that I'm working out. And if I have a nice thing to do on the weekend, maybe I'll kind of straighten it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to figure out what I want to do with my hair. Because when I was in Asia, curly hair can kind of be like pretty high maintenance.
Oh yes, I know.
Like you have to
humidity hits different.
Yeah, like you have to bring like all these hair care products, and like I don't know, it's just like a lot of work sometimes depending on where you are. And so when I went to Asia, I was like, I'm just gonna straighten my hair because I don't want to deal with it. I want to just be able to like wake up and then like not have to do my hair. So I was straightening it, and I was like,
you kind of you're like, ooh,
I was like, I kind of like it.
I know.
You know,
I know. I was like, I'm not gonna put heat in my hair. Look at me now.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, yeah. That's where I was kind of coming from, because like when I was in high school, I was straightening my hair every single day. I was flat ironing it every single day, and it got really damaged. And when I lived in the Philippines, I was like bullied for having my hair texture. So I really just wanted to have, I was bullied into having straight hair basically.
Yeah, I know.
And when I like got to an adult, like when I started, you know, embracing my racial identity and I started embracing who I was like, no, I'm just going to go natural now. Right. It's like, I don't need to straighten my hair. Like, it's not something that I have to do. Like, I'm all natural. Yes. But now I'm in a place where like I've been natural for so long, and I have a really great sense of who I am. Yep. I feel like when I start straightening my hair again, I'm not going to feel the same as I did when I was a teenager.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I agree. Because I commend you, because I tried to go natural for a while, and I was like, every time it would get me, I'm like, oh, but I have to, straighten. You know, I was straightening my hair. And so I don't do it as for like a beauty standard or anything. I just personally like my hair being straightened like it is. And so are there days that I, like you said, will wear it natural and curly the way or wavy the way that it is? Absolutely. But I don't think I'm doing it out of pressure anymore. So I'm like, whatever, because I want to do it, and I know how to take care of it better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I understand what products I should be using. When I was in high school, I didn't properly blow dry my hair at all.
What do you mean?
Like it wouldn't be dry when I
I get you. Yeah.
Because I was like so lazy. I was like, no, like it's already 8 p.m. I have to go to sleep because I have school tomorrow. So I would just like, it would still be pretty damp. Like it would still kind of be wet. And I would
straighten it.
Yeah. And it would, sizzle.
I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
In my 20s.
Yes. It would sizzle, and like that did irreparable damage to my hair. But now I'm like, yes. So when I want to do the silk press, because I know the name for it now. Right. When I was back then, I was like, I don't know what this is. Right. When I do my silk press, I use my blow dryer brush and I try to relax it as much as possible. Yes. And then I go in on like a low heat with my flat iron. Okay. And then like that's how it is. So
give it tutorials out here.
You know what I'm saying? So like for the past 2 months, I've been straightening my hair. This is my first time actually wearing it curly. And like, it's not really damaged because I knew what to do. I knew how to take care of it.
I was going to say that because honestly, I'm going to be honest, you guys, don't get me. I didn't start using heat protectant until like a couple of years ago. Oh my God. I didn't. I should be going in there going, hey, sizzle, oil up, sizzle. Yeah. It was bad. So this is why I have a lot of damage right now. But now I've learned to like you said, the proper steps to do stuff and also not to straighten my hair as often and all this sort of thing. So we've learned along the way.
Yeah. What's your skincare routine like?
Okay. So this is going to be a little bit of a dive. Now it's easy. I'll start from the finished product. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's micellar water. Is micellar? Micellar. See? I don't even know. Just trying to tell you. Basically, I just use water. So that's the only thing I use to clean my face. That, and you're going to hate me and some other people may, but I also use alcohol to clean my face. But it works for me.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that.
But it works for me.
If you like it, then I love it.
Let me tell you why, though. So I had problem skin growing up. Like I had horrible, like when I say cystic acne, it was like all over, hurt my face. I tried everything growing up. It was like the Proactive, the Murads, I even did Obagi, and Obagi is expensive.
Yeah, and it's really intense.
I became pale. I was a ghost on Obagi.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did everything you can think of, and it's like I had adult acne. So even when I moved to Dubai, it got worse where not only was it on my face, I even have a photo. It was like acne all on my chest, on my back. I could not figure it out what it was. So I had asked to be on Accutane when I was like 17. My mom said no. She was like, you can't get on that. It's too many problems. But then I was an adult and I was like, I make adult decisions for myself. Give me that Accutane. So I did Accutane for about 3 months when I was in Dubai, and I love the results of what it did, but precautionary for people. Yeah, have you ever had anyone?
I know someone, and he said that his skin was extremely dry.
Yeah, see, it can be depending on how long you're on it. So basically, I got on it, and all my friends warned me. They were like, "Your skin's gonna dry out. Your vision can get bad, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Gamble, throw the dice, let's go." I was like, "I want clear skin." So I did it for 3 months, and I remember like in the beginning, my face did dry out, but it wasn't like uncomfortably dry. It dried out. And then about like month 2, I remember like they do blood tests every week. They increase your dosage. And I remember just one day I was like, oh God, I was like, it's getting so hard to see. I was like, I'm getting older. This is what 30s are. 30s is, you got to get glasses now. And then I was like working out a lot, and I was like, dang, I was like, my hip is really hurting, blah, blah, blah. And I'm on the phone one day with a friend, and he was like, Nelita, you're not getting older. That's Accutane doing it to you. He was like, you're losing your vision and your hips are hurting, your joints are hurting because of Accutane. And I was like, no way, this can't be it. Sure enough, I started weaning myself off the Accutane. My vision got better. My hips stopped hurting. So know what you're getting yourself into. Talk to your doctors. That's how deep Accutane can be. And I was only on it for like 3-4 months. I weaned myself off. And then once I got off, my doctor was like, we can't put you back on it because you no longer have cystic acne. So you can't get back on it. But now my skin is practically clear. Sorry. Yeah. So now my skin is practically clear. And since then, I found that the less that I do, the better my skin. So just the micellar water, sometimes just regular water. And if I do use a cleanser, it's the CeraVe. Yeah.
I love that one. Yeah.
Simple. Just do that. I put hyaluronic acid on. I spot treat. So when I have hyperpigmentation, because I tend to get hyperpigmentation without even doing anything to my skin, I scar very easily.
Brown girl problems.
Melanin magic can also scar you. Right. No, my mom always had me like on hydroquinone since I was a kid. Like since I was 13, I've used hydroquinone. So I will spot treat with hydroquinone, and that's basically it. I do like at home pills every now and then, but I'm simple. Like I have the simplest skin routine.
Your skin looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a lot better. Some people like right now, this is like I have a little bit of hyperpigmentation on this side, but other than that, it's like I love.
Do you have freckles?
I have freckles.
Yeah, I was just like
Thank
noticing that. Oh my
you.
gosh.
I love it. You know why? Because I got picked on so bad for my freckles when I was a kid. People made me feel bad for my freckles, my lips, everything. And now it's the it thing. Everyone wants to draw on freckles. Everyone wants to get lip injections. Exactly. It's natural, baby. It's natural.
Work.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, I also struggled with like body acne.
Yes.
Like the damage it does to your self-esteem is crazy, because I would like see all my friends wearing like these cute tops and I can't wear those because like I don't want to show my chest. It was a lot.
It's a lot. Like, you know, people say like, oh, get over it, it's just acne, it's fine. No, like when I say I was extremely down on myself and self-esteem issues when I was a teenager, even up into adulthood, because I had such bad acne. I couldn't understand why people had better skin than me. I just like, because they were like, maybe it's your diet, maybe you drink more water. I'm like, all I drink is water. Literally all I drink is water. And I'm like, it's not the water. I'm going to tell you that now. I don't know what it is. But thankfully, after my particular, you know, bout with Accutane, I haven't had crazy breakouts. I get pimples like every now and then around my cycle. But that's it. Yeah. Other than that, I've learned now to like actually love my skin without makeup. I love it now.
Yeah, me too. I'm taking tretinoin right now.
Okay.
So it's like really keeping the breakouts at bay, but it's also fixing like the hyperpigmentation. So I'm finally at a place where I feel like comfortable not wearing makeup, you know what I mean? It's a different type of freedom and liberation for sure.
No, for sure. I never would have thought that I could, and I'm going to be transparent on this, because even for me, I like makeup. There's nothing wrong with it. I still wear makeup when I want to get dolled up, when I have events to go to. Red carpet stuff, I for sure put on some makeup. We are not doing bare face on red carpet. But thankfully the person I'm with, like, having someone be like, oh no, I love your skin the way it is, you know, or I love your freckles. At first I was like, okay. And then I noticed like the more I stopped wearing, I was like, oh my God, did I have an issue like wearing makeup? Like I had to think about that. I was like, I actually do, like, he helped me to grow to be like, oh, I do love my skin without makeup on. Do I still want to put it on sometimes? Yes, absolutely. But I do it if I want to.
Yeah. I think the pandemic for me made me realize that I was relying way too much on makeup. Yeah. And I didn't feel good about it. Yeah. So like being at home and not needing to put it, not quote unquote needing to put it on, made me realize like, oh, I should have a different relationship with my skin.
Right. Exactly. Definitely different. And then just like, you know, now being able to be placed and people are like, oh, your skin looks so great, and I have nothing on. I'm like, oh wow, I don't necessarily always need to put it on, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah. Looking at your Instagram, you always have like, and even your TikTok, you always have like the best like workout outfits. What are your like favorite brands? Where can we look like Nelita V?
It's so funny because I was like, I like to hear other people's perspective of my social media, because I just don't see it the same. People are like, your social media is so great. And I'm like, really? Because I'm barely making it. Don't know how I'm doing it. There's a few different brands that I love. So I will say this, because I was signed to a few brands before. So a lot of the stuff you see is like, even now I'm wearing Squat Wolf, which is a company based in Dubai. So I was a signed athlete with them for a while, but I'm now a free agent. I was like, I'm a free agent, so I can talk about any brand. I love all different brands. I think the ones you probably have been seeing lately is Thick Athletics, which is from my friend Lisa Lewis, who's also like an amazing businesswoman, mother, and creative online. And then Gymshark has given me some stuff. What else? But at heart, I'm a Nike girl. Like Nike, if you're listening to this one day.
Oh my gosh.
If you don't have a martial artist on your roster.
I can't believe they haven't hit you up yet.
I know. I mean, like, we'll talk about this off the podcast, but yeah. So basically, I wear a lot of different brands. I'm open to it. For me, I love jet black. So jet black is my thing. I've been trying to experiment with colors a little bit more, and people love that. People are like, oh, I love this outfit. I'm like, really? Because on the inside, I'm Wednesday Addams. Like, I'm like, give me back the black. I like only all black. But I like little cutouts and stuff like that. You know, I like cute. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we are.
As she reaches for it.
We're coming up on 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Oh my God. This has been so good. I didn't even feel like we had talked that long.
I know, right? It's always fun, like, talking. Like, you're a great conversationalist. Aww. So it's really great to have people like you on the podcast. You always have, like, great stories. Like, I knew that I wanted you on this podcast in particular because you had such a interesting, like, point of view. And the stuff that you talk about on social media, I was like, I need to get her on here.
Thank
She
you.
has so much cool stuff to share. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful experience. I've been waiting to like come and talk to you. So this is great. Like I said, I think what you do is amazing. Please keep it up. And I want to say that actually on tape so people know I'm going to talk to you outside of this, but keep it up. And thank you for being allowing me to share my story.
Of course. Yeah. So if you guys want to follow Nelita V on social media, you can find her at
Nelita_V. And then I have my website as well, nelitav.app. And I have a lot of other projects, so you'll be seeing on my social media coming up.
There you go. And then you can also, if you're interested in buying like weapons and stuff, you can get it at your on your website.
Yeah. So then I also I'm looking to combine everything because I have a website called shopnelitav.com. So everything is going to be combined. But if you go to my Instagram, everything is on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if you find me on Instagram, it's there. I need to put back some stuff on YouTube because I've been MIA for a while. My followers are going to be like, why haven't you posted a video? And you're on somebody else's YouTube. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 4, I believe. Yeah, you're the first episode of 2023.
I'm so excited.
And it's Black History Month, so you know.
It's like represent, what do we say? Represent for both sides.
Okay.
All right.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.
Peace.